games. Velo now starting the third game on 16, and that's not the way he would have wanted to start it. The 8 and 10 split.
That would be the third time he's left that split frame in this match. One in the first game, one in the second game, and now in the opening of the third game. And he is down 17 pins on the match. He'll take one pin here, I think. He's going for the 10 pin. I think he tried for that, you know.
To bounce it off the wall, Ray.
That's right, to squeeze the pin between the ball. I think we might switch over to cricket play. Well, Neylan has left the 3-10 standing there, which is known as the baby split frame. The ball not being able to pass between both pins without hitting one. And an awkward one. Yes, I thought he was a little high, which means he has opened the first frame. In fact, both have opened the first frame for a count of 9.
So after the first game, Joe Velo leading by 25 pins. And after the second game, the position reversed, with Neylan leading by 15. 406 to 389 after 2 frames. Now Neylan on 16.
Bit wide, yes, he just clipped the head pin then, and he's not too happy with that. We can see the automatic pin spotters there, setting up the 2, 4, 5, and this for a right-handed bowler can be an awkward spare to convert, because one often takes the 2, 4 and leaves the 5 standing. See if it, no, he's covered these nicely. Now Joe Velo will bowl his second frame on lane 15. Wide again. He got a little more result out of his ball though. Very strong working ball, Velo bowls, and he got 9 count, which gives him a very easy spare to convert. There we see the 2 pin standing by itself. Well, I thought when we started off the match here we were in for some really hot bowling, as we can describe it. Both bowlers have simmered down slightly, although Neylan's 237 there in the second game was certainly a very fine game, and this may be an omen for Velo. High again there on the lane 16 and left himself this 3-10 spare to convert, which is the baby split, and the identical one that Neylan made an error on in the first frame. And for a right-hand bowler, it's a very awkward frame. Yes, and you get a shot there of the concentration that Velo brings to bear on his game. Also get a good glimpse of the concentration of Neylan here, bowling his third frame. And that's the third frame in a row in this game that Neylan has thrown the ball wide.
Incidentally, in the junior final, after 2 games, McLeese of Victoria has taken the lead away from Ives of New South Wales. McLeese 408, Ives 371. quite often a difficult one to take too, Ray, that the one with the sleeper behind it.
That's right.
It's the 2-8.
It's easy to take the 2, but it's very, very hard often to get the ball going through the 2 pin to take the 8 as well. Here we see the scores, 27 apiece on the second frame. Neylan bowling his 4th frame on lane 16. And he's looking for a strike. That was a funny one. Notice the 2 pins that left the deck last, the 7 and the 9.
It was almost as if they were frightened over by the breeze.
Here we have Joe Velo, lane 15. Nine-pin count there, 46 in the 3rd frame to Joe Velo, 47 in the 3rd frame to Mick Neylan.
This is almost a discount frame, Ray, isn't it? The discount game so far. You can give this one away as far as good bowling is concerned. That's right at this moment. It's just ordinary, average 10-pin bowling.
Yes, and of course we know what both of these bowlers are capable of, especially Velo. 1968 South Pacific champion, 1966 Australian Masters champion, and the 1968 Australian Singles champion. Oh, must be. Characteristic gesture of Joe Velo. Stands up there and says it must be. Couldn't be anything else. Quite happy with himself. Now Mick Neylan is sitting on a strike in frame 4. Now in this 5th frame, if he can double, he goes ahead by 10 pins. Oh, he wasn't happy with it at all. Didn't get enough fingers on that ball. By fingers we mean he doesn't get the fingers working to put enough work on the ball, enough revolutions, side revolutions I should say, and hence he didn't kick out the 10 pin there. And he's faced with this awkward 10 pin again, although he's converted it now 3 times out of 4. And no mistake this time. So that Neylan is now 67 in the 4th frame, leading Velo 66 in the 4th frame, which means Neylan is now 18 pins ahead on the match. Actually, it was a rather awkward release of Neylan's at that one, and he's left that awkward 4-7-10 split frame. He will try and convert the 4 across and take out the 10. He actually rose in his follow through a little too quickly on that frame and pulled it right into the head pin. Oh no, that's wide. It's wide. He's only taken 1. At the most, he should have taken 2, and a pin can make a very big difference in a match of this nature. So that the positions now are reversed. Joe Velo is sitting on a strike, and if he can get another strike here, he goes 20 pins ahead on the match. Oh, it's a bit high. Not too happy with himself there. Failed to take advantage of the situation there. Still, if he converts this, he picks up 10 pins on the game. In other words, those 10 pins that Neylan dropped by his error in the 6th. So the scores now in the 5th frame, 84 to Mick Neylan, 86 to Joe Velo. But you remember Neylan had an error in the sixth for a total of 92. What a classic pose there of Joe Velo. Couldn't be anything else. Now that strike gives him the lead on this particular game. 92 to Neylan in the sixth, 106 to Velo in the sixth. A lead of 14 pins on this game, which means he's only 3 down on the match. Yes, it's a better ball.
Looks like Neylan might have got back in the groove.
Yes, he was a bit more settled at the foul line then.
It's troublesome lane, 15, Ray, isn't it? He's had a lot of bother there in the 3 games so far.
Well, I think he's creating a bit of this problem himself. He's not as settled at the foul line as he'd like to be. You might be able to see his release here at the moment. Sometimes he comes up too early. No, it's all right that time, and there's the result. So that double there means he redeems 10 of those pins he's down. But of course Velo is sitting on a strike, and now if he can double, he reverses the situation once again. And oh no, I thought for a moment by his pose there he expected it. It was a little high. Yes, as you said before, this game is a peculiar game. Fortunes alternating almost every second frame.
He's the sort of competitor, is Joe, who never gives up. Just when you think you've got him down, he leaves a couple of open frames, and you think you might have got his measure. You can start to pour on the gas. Back comes Joe and doubles. So he's a hard man to beat. A great competitor.
Bowling his 9th frame. Well, we expected that one too. Very good foundation frame in the 9th frame, that strike, which means he can double out or even strike out on the 10th. But of course Neylan is sitting on a double strike in the 8th frame here. If he can strike now in the 9th, he picks up another 10 pins. Bit wide, yes. Indeed lucky to get out of it that well.
Incidentally, Victoria's 4th sanctioned 300 game was bowled on this pair of lanes, 15 and 16, by Nigel Gordy on the 28th of August 1968, and down on, I think it's 10 and 11, or maybe 9 and 10. The 3rd sanctioned 300 in Victoria was bowled. So Mentone has had 2 fully sanctioned, perfect games.
In fact, 2 out of the only 4 bowled in Victoria here. Now Mick Neylan spared out on the 9th frame. Now he'll bowl his 10th frame. 141 in the 8th to Neylan, 146. Velo leading by 5 pins.
Which means that Neylan has a 10-pin lead overall. It's the way to go.
Now because that's the 10th frame, and because a strike means that a bowler counts the next 2 balls that he bowls, this means Neylan has 2 bonus balls to take on the 10th frame, and if he can double here, he will pick up an extra 10 pins. It's wide though. Yes, he's thrown a lot of them wide this game. He's shaking his head on the way back there. He doesn't quite know what's the problem. So that if he can now pick up these 3 pins for a total of 181.
which gives Mick Neylan a 3-game series of 587. 587.
Now can Velo double on this frame? Oh, I thought he had it.
So did Joe.
Yes. Actually, I don't think he expected that, what was a 4-9 leave. The 4 kicked out, and it appeared to us from this end that it was going to kick out the 9 pin as well. Certainly Joe was hoping it would. And Joe has an easy pin here to pick up to convert the spare. And that spare means he has now 1 bonus ball to roll because it's the 10th frame, and a possible 186 game.
I was misleading you earlier. I told you the difference was 15 pins. Actually, it was 17 pins after the second game, with Neylan leading. And that's a bad one for Joe. It only gives him 8 and a series, or a third of 184, which is a 573. So it's 587 plays 573, 14. Neylan, after 3 games, leading by 14 pins. The scores: 587 to Neylan, 573 to Velo, and we'll just confirm that with our scorer. Neylan starting, or just about to start, on 15.
Oh, there's that 8-10 again.
There you have it, 587 to 573. Neylan, the 19 years old boy from Mentone, representing Golden Bowl, Camberwell, leading Joe Velo from Wollongong, 35 years of age, and Joe by trade is a sheet metal worker in air conditioning.
A very sensible shot. Almost impossible, or virtually impossible, because no one tries for it. Now Velo will bowl his first frame on lane 16. Bit light. A little unlucky not to take out the 5 pin, as the pins slashed around the deck there. But Joe not very happy with it, as we can see. Comparing the scores on the overhead projectors. There we see the 7-5 split frame. He will have to hit the 5 pin on the right hand side. It's wide enough. Still a beautiful ball. Well, this is a difference to the third game. Both bowlers had a split in the first frame on the third game, and both failed to convert the split frame. But this time Velo converted his and Neylan didn't, so that Velo has approximately a 10-pin lead immediately. Looking for it? No. In fact, you may have seen on the screen there how late the 8 was again. Velo 19 on the first frame, Neylan 9. 10-pin lead to Velo after the first frame. And this awkward 10-pin leave to pick up. Now Mick Neylan to bowl his second frame on lane 16. This is the second year in which Neylan has been a finalist in the National All-Stars tournament, finishing 9th last year. High, very high. Mick seems to give me the impression that he's, on a number of his shots there, he's drifting to the right slightly. And of course that means he pulls the ball across often. Now under match play conditions, Neylan will bowl the third frame. His second consecutive frame, that is. Here we see the scores: 9 to Neylan in frame 1, 19 to Velo, both with a 9 spare in the second frame. He's looking for a strike here. Yes, yes. Nice ball. Joe Velo to bowl his third frame on lane 16. And he's also looking for a strike. Quite a comedian in his own right, Joe Velo, but a wonderful competitor. Australian Singles Champion 1968, South Pacific Classic Champion 1968, and Australian Masters Champion 1966. High though. Ooh. Wow.
He's got a pair of goalposts stuck up there.
That's right, that's the 4-6 split frame. And because these pins are opposite one another on the same horizontal, these are virtually impossible. Certainly Joe will go for one pin here, I would think. There it is, one pin.
As Joe said as he came back, one's better than none.
That's right. Some of the younger bowlers, perhaps, the novices in the game, bit of glory attached to, of course, converting that spare, but of course in this type of play you don't worry about it.
And that's 6. He's left 4 there, I think. 2, 4, 5, 8.
And the second time in a row on lane 16 he's thrown the ball very wide. And in the last 2 games we've been quite used to seeing 3 or 4 pins left up there. Still, the 6-pin count there wasn't much of a disadvantage because he was on a strike, and a strike means you count the next 2 consecutive balls as a bonus. So in fact he gets the 20 count in the third frame for a total of 49. But he's got to settle down.
A backhanded strike, that one. In on the wrong side.
Ooh, what did you say, Joe? Probably thought a lot there. That 9-pin leaving by itself, termed in bowling terminology once again as a solid 9, and no one can offer any explanations why it stands on a good pocket hit. Nevertheless, he converts it, and the score is now in the 4th frame. Joe Velo 67, Mick Neylan 69, which means Neylan is ahead by 2 pins on this match, and 60 on this game rather, and 16 ahead for the match. Not a great leeway at all with 2.5 games to go. That's the ball. Mick Neylan, being the local boy in this match, coming from Mentone here. In fact, 3 generations of the family in the area here, to bowl his 6th frame on lane 16. And he's looking for the double. There it is. And that double strike gives him an advantage of 10 pins. So that he is now 12 pins ahead on this game. But of course the story doesn't end there. If he can now strike on 15, which under match play conditions he will now bowl, he can go another 10 pins ahead. No.
Meantime, in the junior All-Star final, we see McLeese of Victoria, after 3 games, leading Ives of New South Wales 585 to 574. That's being played on the 2 adjacent lanes, 13 and 14.
Oh, he wasn't very happy there. You may have seen on the screen there that the possibility of that ball taking only the 6 pin. Now Velo can strike a double strike here. Oh no, a bit high again.
He gets a lot of action with the ball, and the pins fly all around the place, but he was unlucky there that the 4 didn't go with him. Incidentally, Joe Velo's average before this game started, or before this series started, was 208, and Mick Neylan's was 214 for the bowling. The final series of which started here on Thursday, this being Saturday, March the 1st, 1969, as this telecast is going to air in Victoria and being recorded for later replay throughout ABC television networks in Australia.
It's a bit high, yes.
Actually, the scores which we showed you on the juniors were after 2 games, and they have completed 3. Just repeat them for you. McLeese 585, Ives 574, Ives from New South Wales, and they're almost at the end of their 4th game. And we'll give you that as soon as it comes through.
There's no mistake there. Velo spares out on his 8th frame. Mick Neylan now to bowl his 8th frame on lane 16. Yes, by the look of him, he wasn't very happy with it, and for very good reason. He left a split frame, and the same one that Joe Velo left very early in the piece, the 4-6, as we see on the screen there. Both pins on the same horizontal, which means they're almost impossible to pick up. And he'll go for 1 frame here. 1 pin, rather. So that on the 7th frame of the match, Mick Neylan 135, Joe Velo 126. And Mick Neylan, under match play conditions, will bowl his 9th frame on lane 15, and he's got to start striking here. And as if to hear me, oh, I thought he had it. I thought he had that strike, but he's left this 10-pin leave again. There we see the scores. 135 in the 7th to Mick Neylan, 126 to Joe Velo in the 7th. Now Joe Velo to bowl his 9th frame on lane 16. It's high, it's high. and he's only taken 9 for a count of 145 in the 8th to Mick Neylan's 144 in the 8th.
And those averages again, Velo 214 and Neylan 208 for the series which commenced here on Thursday. Velo with the better average, but with the lower number of pinfalls, and
well,
that could be a reason why.
Well,
Joe just seemed to lose concentration there, and that was a rather difficult one to give away in the 9th frame. That could have, if that had been the 10th frame, that would have destroyed him almost completely, Ray.
Yes, for this game anyhow, and he's not very happy with things there. Still, he can redeem himself on this frame if he can strike out. No, only 9. Yes, you don't very often see Joe Velo make an error of that nature, missing a single pin. Although, as I've pointed out a number of times now, anything on the right hand of the lane can be awkward for a right-hand bowler.
No mistake there. He hit that one right on the nose. So Joe Velo about to complete his 4th game. He has 1 ball left. And a possible 174. He has 164 at the moment, plus the number of pins he knocks down with this ball, which is 8. 172. So just an ordinary old game. 745 total.
Which isn't anything anywhere near his 215 average, or 214 average over the 22 match play games. Mick Neylan now to bowl his 10th frame on 16. I was going to say a bit of luck, but the pin stopped it. So he has a 9 count for a 163 on the 9th, and needs to spare this frame to keep ahead on both this game and the entire match.
So he's got 173 plus what he knocks down with this next ball. A possible 183. Remembering that Velo had a 172, so already Neylan is 1 pin in front in this game, plus what he knocks down with this ball. Would you believe 9? So he finished with the 182 for a 4-game series of 769, which is a difference of 24 pins in Neylan's favour, 24 pins in front after 4 completed games of the 6. So at the 2/3 mark, a 24 pin lead to Mick Neylan.